Guess who finally decided to start watching a Dragon Ball show? This guy. I've been watching Dragon Ball Super and it is fantastic. Why did nobody tell me that Dragon Ball shows are so good? That was sarcasm. I've been told that by many people many times. Anyway, watching the show has obviously got me in a Dragon Ball drawing mood, so this episode, let's turn superheroes into Super Saiyans. Feel like the opening was gonna be longer, like I had more to say, but I guess not, so let's dive in. To start things off, I had to go with Batman because I realized I haven't done anything Batman related on this channel. Like no animations, no drawings, no anything. You don't see him, but the Batmobile pops up in that Spider-Man's web swinging animation I did, but that doesn't really count. You don't even see Batman in that. So yeah, started with Batman. Thought about starting with Spider-Man, but I've been leaning on Spider-Man a lot lately, so decided not to go with that. So for Batman here, I messed around with a few poses, couldn't come up with anything super Batman-like that I liked, because when he'd be in Super Saiyan mode, a lot of characters would have a bit more of a Superman-like pose, but putting Batman in a Superman pose felt a bit weird. I do kind of end up going with that. I just have him kind of clutching his cape as Batman's one to do, and he's kind of flying up into the distance while looking down. It was kind of the best balance I could find in a short time span for being a bit between Batman and Superman kind of pose. But after the pose work, you'll see I end up putting a bit of a glowing bat logo on his chest, like his shirt gets torn open. I just picture he's so buff that his shirt kind of rips open when he goes Super Saiyan, and he's got a glowing bat logo on his chest. I know that's not really a thing that ever happens with Saiyans. They don't have like a glowing logo on their chest. I mean, they don't really have logos at all, right? Although I guess Goku has that Japanese symbol on his chest. Is that just his name? Is that like a name tag? I don't know, I'm sorry. I just started watching Dragon Ball stuff. I don't know the lore that well, and I can't read Japanese. Anyway, besides that, I don't do a ton of creative stuff with the costume. I kind of just keep it regular Batman. I tear open the top of his mask and let some blue hair stick out the top. I went with that blue Vegeta style Saiyan hair. I don't know what version of Vegeta it is where he gets blue hair instead of yellow hair, but I thought that looked really cool, and because Batman's color palette is generally black and gray or black and blue, I decided to give him the blue hair instead of the yellow hair. I just thought it worked a little bit better with his whole color scheme. Also, you'll be able to tell very quickly when I'm in rendering that these end up looking a lot like something you'd see on Cartoon Hooligans channel. But these are still images, not full animations. His animations are crazy impressive. I mean, I know he took a bit of a break for a while. He even went and worked at Marvel on some TLDR videos on their YouTube channel, which were super great. They get a lot of cool animators to work on those. Anyway, these do end up looking pretty Cartoon Hooligan-esque because I don't do my full usual rendering, which involves a bit of a painterly style at parts. I just go full cell shading, 3 layers of it, 1 shade, 1 light, 1 rim light, that's it. And here is our Super Saiyan Batman. Next up, we've got Wonder Woman. And admittedly, before today, I didn't even know that there were any female Super Saiyans. I mean, I guess it makes sense. The Saiyans are an alien race. There would have to be women in their race. I just hadn't seen any pictures of female Super Saiyans. I think it might have just become a thing more recently. I'm not really sure. Again, sorry, not super up to date on the Dragon Ball lore yet, just started watching. But with Wonder Woman, I had a bit of a hard time figuring out her pose too. I had a kind of hard time figuring out poses for a lot of these actually. Not totally sure why that is. I guess it's because usually with different characters. Like in that Pokemon superhero episode, each character I figured would have a different pose. Like the Flash Pikachu would be super speed running, so I'd need a running pose. The Iron Man one would kind of be flying in a stoic pose. Like they all just have their character types give me different ideas for different poses, but with these all being Super Saiyans, they kind of strike me all as would have them just being in a big, strong, powerful Superman-like pose. And I wanted to have a bit of variation, and I think I do get there, it just takes a bit of work. With Wonder Woman, I didn't give her her sword or shield, but I gave her the lasso of truth. I just think that's a cool drawing element. I mean, it's kind of like Spider-Man's webs. It's just a cool thing to have twisting and spiraling, and if you make it whipping up a little bit, it kind of implies that there's some wind in the scene, and just adds a little bit more movement to everything. Also for her hair, I wasn't totally sure what to do right off the bat. I end up going with the really long kind of Super Saiyan 3 hair, except I contained it a little bit more. Almost like it's in a braid, although not quite. With her costume, for a lot of these ones, I end up having them kind of ripping out of their clothes, but Wonder Woman doesn't have a ton of clothes to rip out of, so I actually end up putting a bit more clothing on her. I looked at some other images of Super Saiyan designs, and I saw that Brawly had those kind of cool shoulder pad things, and I thought those would work kind of well with Wonder Woman's design, so I added those onto her shoulders, and I'm pretty happy with how those turned out. I think that's one of the cooler parts of the design, makes her look a little bit more Dragon Ball-like. I also am not super familiar with how to do eyes in anime style. I think generally there's male eyes and female eyes. I might have given Wonder Woman the more male-looking eyes, but I still think she ends up looking pretty cool. She does look a little bit young the way I drew her. Her eyes are a little bit bigger than usual, but it's kind of cool. Kind of just looks like an angry Saiyan teen Wonder Woman. Anyway, here's what we got with our Wonder Woman Super Saiyan. Next up is easily one of my favorites, both in terms of the character I'm drawing and in terms of the result, and that is Captain America. And I go with his Winter Soldier costume. I mess around really quickly with the idea of using his regular red costume, but I just love that Winter Soldier kind of stealth costume. It's probably my favorite costume to appear in the MCU, besides maybe Thor's Ragnarok outfit. I just think it's so cool looking, and I end up brightening up the blue a little bit, but oh, it's such a cool costume. And that movie, that's easily one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. With this one, I do end up giving him the beard, actually, because I know a lot of people are a fan of the beard he had in Avengers Infinity War. I am impartial, I liked it, and I like him without it, but I thought it would be cool adding a Super Saiyan spiky beard. I don't know if I've seen that before. I feel like it's probably a thing, but I can't picture it. So I thought it would be fun to add. I also give him that glowing A on his forehead like I did with Batman's chest. Again, I don't think that's a thing that happens with Super Saiyans, it just kinda worked for me. I also pictured that, like with Batman's chest rip open thing, Captain America's arms would get just so big that his sleeves would rip off, but his hands wouldn't grow bigger, so he'd keep his gloves on, and I think that ends up looking pretty cool. Give him his shield in his backhand, and I can't even imagine how much damage he'd be able to do with that thing as a Super Saiyan, because the shield's indestructible, he's basically indestructible, and he could throw that thing just speed of light probably. It would just keep going and destroy everything in its path. Or it would bounce off stuff? I don't know, either way, it would probably break a lot of things. I actually, in this episode, try to lean away from the stereotypical ones you'd imagine getting Super Saiyan, like Thor and Superman. Like, I feel like those are ones that people would go to a lot. I kind of stick with, for the most part, ground level heroes. I mean, Wonder Woman obviously isn't a ground level hero, but she's kind of the exception of this group. I also weirdly enough end up really liking how the colors turn out for this one. Even though he's mostly blue, I don't know what it is, but the coloring of his arms and the brown of his buckle and the brighter blue that I give, and then just the bit of yellow all around with the hair being a bit yellowy orangish and the glow in the background. I don't know what it is, but I really like how this one turns out. Anyway, here is our Captain America Super Saiyan. Now this one I had to do because I know she's not necessarily one of the most popular characters out there, but X-23, besides Spider-Man, is my favorite comic book character. Her run by Tom Taylor was just absolutely outstanding, one of my favorite comic runs in history. I mean, the way he writes her, she's just such a good, fun, interesting character. And with this one, I end up ripping off a bunch of the stuff that I use in the Captain America one. You know, it ends up having a similar pose with the arms stretched out like that. I just love that pose for drawing Saiyans, he said with his limited experience drawing them. Anyway, give her the similar pose, have her charging. I think I have her charging more so at the camera than Captain America did, and that just feels very Wolverine. Like with all these characters, I feel like she's the one that's most looking for a fight. Then also, like with the Batman one, I keep her mask on but have her hair kind of rip out the back of it, and I give her a nice little triple hair floof thing at the front that I think ends up looking really cool. I mean, I am biased towards that. That is, I draw a little bit of a flip up when I'm drawing myself. I like how this thing looks. I also tear open the arms like I did with Captain America and keep her gloves on, although I make her gloves look a little bit torn because they're kind of meshed in with the rest of her costume. And then besides that, I don't really have to do too much to change up her look because a lot of her body is kind of obscured by her chest and her knee, so I don't really need to change up the costume too much, but I also don't really feel like I needed to. Besides this other stuff I've changed, I make her claws a lot bigger because that kind of just feels like a Saiyan thing to do, just exaggerate things a bit more. Doesn't really make sense because her claws are metal, they wouldn't grow if she got more buff. You know what I mean, they wouldn't be able to grow, the adamantium's encasing them. Anyway, I also really like the facial expression I gave this one. It feels very Wolverine, and her whole hair and mask and all of that. The whole head situation is a thing I'm happy with. Good job, me. Also, you might notice I'm trying to be a bit more positive about my artwork in this video, because in general I am pretty positive about my art, but it's been pointed out to me that I can come across as kind of negative towards my own artwork in these videos sometimes, and I don't mean that to be the case. I tend to think of, with every piece I do, I try to look at it and see one thing that I like about it, and one thing that I could improve on. Although, sometimes if the piece is a bit worse, I'll find more things to improve on, or if the piece is a bit better, I'll find more things that I'm happy with and want to keep doing. It's a bit of a balance, but in general, I do really like my own artwork. If I didn't, I would change up my style. And when I find something that I want to be better at drawing, I, crack down and practice drawing that thing a whole bunch more. Anyway, that's not what this episode is about. Let's just wrap up our Wolverine Super Saiyan. Okay, that was all well and good, but I think we gotta do something a bit more interesting to wrap this up. Can't do a Dragon Ball episode if we're not doing some fusions. I've been wanting to do a Deadpool-style character, couldn't decide who to do, so I think we gotta combine Deadpool and Colossus into a fusion Super Saiyan. Let's see how that looks. So funny enough, this character actually ends up looking exactly like another Marvel X-Men villain, and you'll probably figure it out if you're pretty familiar with X-Men characters. I think he was also in the X-Force, I don't totally remember, but you'll see. I put Colossus's arms on Deadpool's body, buff up the whole body, give him the blonde Super Saiyan hair, give him Colossus's gauntlet kind of things, or I guess it's not a gauntlet, just the thing that wraps around his forearms, and you'll probably see it if you know of the character. Anyway, after I was partway through this piece, I realized I probably could have given him a sword like Trunks has in Dragon Ball. I didn't think of that because I haven't actually come to a scene where Trunks is in Dragon Ball Super. I don't know if he shows up eventually, I assume he does. They mention him offhand at one point, but in the video games he used to be my favorite character, because he was, he was a super powerful Saiyan kind of guy, but he also had a sword, or I think he's part Saiyan. But anyway, the sword thing is what made him cool to me. I also tried to give him a bit of a cheeky pose, because, he's Deadpool. I can't actually imagine this fusion going that well. Their personality types are so different. I feel like this character would just be squeezing his own butt or something, like it would be Deadpool controlling him and then Colossus would be getting really uncomfortable. Either way, it would probably make a pretty funny scene if they ever did a Marvel Dragon Ball crossover, which I wouldn't actually be surprised if that's happened before, and I just haven't read it. Anyway, right near the end of this piece, I end up adding a little bit of my usual extra shading to it just to buff it up a little bit. Not buff in the muscular sense, but just, render it out a little bit more. It doesn't end up adding that much detail, but, just thought I'd throw it in there, see what it does to the look. But besides that, this one was business as usual, so let's see what the final product looked like of our Colossus and Deadpool fusion. Alright, that was a blast as usual. Thanks for watching, everybody. And next week is the episode many of you have been waiting for. It is the second PopCross community episode, where I'm drawing the PopCross community superheroes. I'm going to try to draw all of them, but there were a lot of submissions, so I might not get to all of them. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll get all of them. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted. I'm very excited to get drawing on your artwork. Probably tomorrow. I'm going to start it tomorrow. It's a lot to draw. Got to do it in advance. If you're not already, join the Discord or Facebook group. I mean, nobody seems to be using the Facebook group, but lots of people are on the Discord. There you can submit your artwork, talk to other artists about your art, get feedback, all that kind of stuff. It's a great group of people in there, very positive, lots of cool artwork. Join, link below. Alright everybody, I've been Christian Pearson, thanks so much for watching PopCross Studios, and I will see you probably Wednesday or next Monday. I do videos almost every Monday and Wednesday. I mean, definitely every Monday, and Usually every Wednesday? Yeah, let's go with that. Alright everybody, goodbye.